Hello and welcome. Today we are going to look at how we can use a self-signed certificate in a .NET Web API. So the first thing we'll do is that we will start up Visual Studio Code as an administrator. We can also use other methods, just as opening PowerShell directly as an administrator. The most important thing is that we can execute PowerShell as an admin. Okay, so after opening Visual Studio Code as an administrator, as you can see in the top, we have opened a PowerShell terminal. And then the first thing we want to do is to create our new .NET project. So we'll create the project and then we'll enter into the project folder. As you can see to the left, we'll just have a basic .NET project with the normal stuff we have. Then the next thing we want to do is for this project to initialize user secrets. We're doing this by calling .NET user secrets init and then giving the project as a parameter. Then user secrets are initialized, and we can now set our user secret, which is called Kestrel certificate password, and then it has the value of some secret password. This is the password our certificate will also be written with. So we need this to be able to use our certificate in our web API. So we'll execute this, and it's telling us that Kestrel certificate password is set as some secret password. Then the next thing we want to do is to create our certificate. So I'm going to paste a bunch of, I'm first going to clear the console and then paste in some PowerShell code. So up here we are defining what our domain will be. Then down here we are creating the certificate as a variable, getting the password. This is the same as the one we stored as a user secret. And then we're getting our location. Then the next thing is we're making the file path we want to write it at, and we're going to write it at the location we're executing this in our root, in the root for our C# project, and then the file name, which is going to be local cert pfx. This is what we'll refer in our code. And then the next thing we want to do is to export the certificate, and then that's going to be written in the file explorer, and we're going to be able to see it out here on the left. Then we're going to update our host path with the new domain we added for localhost. This is the entry we're adding here. And then we're just going to execute it. So now we can see to the left, we have the local cert.pfx. Then the next thing is we actually want to be able to see that we updated the host file. So here we should be able to see localhost and then self-signed API. And this is on the host file on my Windows machine. Then the next thing is we need to update the code. So I'll open program.cs, and then I'm going to copy in some code. First, we need a using statement to be able to use our certificate. And then we need to add some code right before we're building the application, which is configuring our web host with the Kestrel server and adding the certificate. So here we're just referring to the certificate we can see on the left, and adding our SQL value, which is getting loaded from the Kestrel certificate password that we stored as a user secret earlier. Then, after doing this, we need to update our properties and our launch settings for the HTTPS. So we want to be sure that our application launches on the new domain we have added. So here we add our domain on 443, which is the HTTPS port. And for HTTP, we'll add port 80, which is the default HTTP port. So after saving this, we should be able to run our application. So I'll head back into our terminal, go to the console, and run the HTTPS profile that we just updated. And now it runs. Then we need to head to the browser to actually be able to see our application. So jumping over to the browser, we can now go to self-signed API.local swagger index.html, which is where we should be able to see our application running. So it will say that there is a security risk because we are running on a self-signed certificate, but we will just accept the risk, and then we can be able to see our application running on HTTPS on our domain we signed. And if we go up here, we can actually see our certificate that we signed, that our web API is serving for us. So that's all.